Thank you. Please sit down. Secretary Greg Domingo, Senator Sani Angara, elected officials of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, of the Philippine Exporters Confederation, Employers Confederation of the Philippines, and the ANVIL Business Club, fellow workers in government, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Just a while ago, your new officers took on the responsibility of leading associations that keep the dynamo of progress and inclusive growth engaged at full throttle, in addition to the obligations they already have as leaders in their respective companies. Given what you have already achieved, you could have chosen to relax and take it easy and not be the referee of so many intramurals. Instead, you swore an oath that leads to a busier lifestyle, one in which you take for your own the concerns of your institutions and the respective members. Your days will probably be a lot more hectic, but this, of course, will come with the satisfaction of knowing that you are working not just for yourselves, but for others. I expect that we will be hearing from each other more often from this day forward. The very structures of your organizations are set up so that you, the new officers, may embody the consensus built up amongst your members. I guarantee that, as we will always have, government will listen to your concerns. At the same time, being representatives of so many stakeholders will perhaps give you a sense of my own job as leader of the country with tens of millions of bosses. Governance requires striking a balance, and it is my task to build a consensus that redounds to the benefit of the vast majority. Let me tell you, it becomes much easier to reach this consensus when we are able to cut through the clutter and listen to the legitimate voices who raise issues with earnestness, propose solutions, and are willing to partner with us to achieve these. So while I know that monitoring internal and external developments is an important part of any successful business strategy, perhaps it would be wise to shun a culture of myopia and temper the urge for knee-jerk reactions. Let me give you an example. The peso-dollar fluctuations affect everyone differently. When our currency is strong, some industries view it with apprehension, and sometimes that apprehension appears in the news the following day. And of course, the converse is also true. For our part, in any and every endeavor, government must also think strategically, looking at long-term trends and not being swayed by the minute fluctuations that happen daily. May we invite you to also do the same. Together, we can focus on solutions that redound to stronger industries and stronger working relationships between government and the private sector. After all, we can agree. Our goal is sustainable progress. We want the doors of opportunity open not only for today, but also for tomorrow and until the coming generations. This has been the bedrock principle upon which our reforms are founded. Each step of our agenda is planned out so that it redounds to the maximum benefit, both today and in the years to come, from weeding out corruption to streamlining our systems and processes. This also includes, for example, the vast investments we have channeled into social services, healthcare, and most importantly, education. As we empower our countrymen today, they are given the ability to take hold of their future. Right now, almost 4 years after I took office, it is not an exaggeration to say that the Philippines is already experiencing a taste of this hopefully lasting progress. That when I ask businessmen like you about how your enterprises are faring, you can answer confidently that you are doing better than ever. Just a couple of weeks ago, Secretary Butchabad observed that there seems to be a general disconnect between the front page and the business page. How so many business groups are gung-ho about the Philippines while others just stop short of prophesying doom. You have my gratitude for recognizing and acknowledging the great strides the Philippines has made. Rest assured, your optimism is not unfounded. The Philippines has made huge jumps in various competitiveness rankings and has also received a unanimous investment grade rating from all three major credit ratings agencies. Investments are up. For example, net FDI increased by 20% from $3.22 billion in 2012 to $3.86 billion in 2013. When I met with PhilExport back in October of 2012, I expressed my confidence in their ability to weather the storm that the export sector was facing at the time. Today, We are indeed seeing brighter skies, with total merchandise exports increasing by 9.3% to more than $4.38 billion in January of this year, as compared to $4 billion in January of 2013. Even better, a lot of you have put your money where your mouth is. Notice, for example, the very spirited competition that our private-public partnerships have attracted, redounding to a system where government and enterprise can work together to fulfill the promise of our country. In some cases, it is a literal promise. Back in the 70s, I think Risa was not yet around, the Marcos dictatorship promised expansive north and south expressways and a connection between the two called the Metro Manila Expressway. We all know that this statement was long on promises and short on delivery. But thanks to the hard work of all stakeholders, expressways that will surpass the promise of the endpoint in Pangasinan and will eventually reach La Union have already opened and will be completed by next year. Work has also begun on two connectors between the north and the south expressways, among other infrastructure projects. Once these connectors are completed, traveling from the north to the south of Luzon will avoid traversing the congested fairways of Metro Manila. Travel time between the NLEX and SLEX will just be between 15 to 20 minutes. In just 2 more years, 40 years after the dictatorship first made that promise, we will see the rise of a north and south connector or connectors. All this is happening because our government has leveled the playing field and created an environment where capabilities rather than connections are at the forefront. Given the global community's reception to the new phase of Philippine politics and systems, we expect increased access to wider arenas of competition. So long as you take advantage of our resurgence, you will cease being big businesses operating in a small pond and perhaps become industry leaders in an entire ocean of opportunities. This is both an exciting and a crucial time for you to be taking the helm of your respective institutions. And I am certain the wealth of experience and knowledge you bring to the table will allow you to bring your associations even further along the straight path to success. As the leader of an organization of sorts, though an exponentially larger one, perhaps you will let me offer some advice. As you advocate for the sectors you represent, keep in mind that you are operating within the context of the nation. I was taught in school that to be able to compete in the global marketplace, you would have had to demonstrate competitiveness in the domestic market. An unlevel playing field gives rise only to inefficient monopolies or oligopolies. The concerns of businesses and the common Filipino should not compete against each other. In fact, if we are to create progress that is truly sustainable, the empowerment of both these sectors should be aligned. After all, it is the Filipino worker that populates your offices. It is the Filipino wage earner that spends money on your products and services. It is the Filipino parent that instills values and knowledge in their children, who will then sustain the virtuous cycle of prosperity and empowerment that we are experiencing now. Indeed, we are all treading this path together. With your partnership, we can take even greater strides for your sectors and the millions of our countrymen who with us are moving towards a more just, more progressive, and more equitable future. Thank you and good afternoon.